Ladies, there's a minor delay.
A delay? How long? I'm sure it's nothing serious.
Just a few minutes.
Okay.
The cabin door seals with a heavy thud, and the private jet's aisle turns into a runway of whispers. A uniformed pilot strides in like he owns the sky, eyes scanning passengers, then locking on one woman in a simple black blazer, seated calmly. Near the front, his jaw tightens. "Ma'am, you need to move," he says, loud enough for everyone to hear. Heads snap up. The flight attendant freezes. The woman looks up slowly, expression unreadable, like she's counting heartbeats instead of insults. "I'm assigned here," she replies, voice soft but steady. The pilot leans closer, lowering his tone into a threat disguised as policy. "I said move, now." If you're watching Echo Story, you already know this is where power thinks it's untouchable. Until it touches the wrong person. Like, subscribe and stay with me, because what happens next turns this jet into a courtroom at 40,000 feet. The pilot gestures toward the back, like he's banishing her to exile. "We have a VIP boarding. Front seating is restricted," he announces. Even though the cabin holds only 12 leather seats, and every passenger looks like a VIP, the woman glances at the seat card clipped to her armrest, then back at him. "My name is on it," she says, tapping it gently. The pilot scoffs, sharp and theatrical. "Seat cards can be misplaced. Don't make this difficult." A man across the aisle chuckles nervously, while another passenger starts recording behind. A tinted phone screen. The flight attendant whispers, "Captain, she's cleared," but he cuts her off with a glare. The woman's fingers tighten around her handbag, not from fear, but from restraint. Her eyes flick to the jet's polished interior like she's remembering something. Something she paid for. A blonde passenger in designer sunglasses tilts her head, amused. "Maybe she's in the wrong cabin," she mutters, loud enough to sting. A few laughs trail after it, like cheap perfume. The woman stays composed, but her throat swallows hard pain she refuses to show. The pilot seizes the moment, fueled by the cabin's approval. "Ma'am, last warning. We can have security escort you off." The word security lands like a slap. The woman's gaze drifts to the window, where the runway lights shimmer like a line between dignity and humiliation. She breathes in, slowly, then says, "If you want me to move, tell me the real reason." The pilot's eyes flash. "The reason is I'm the pilot." He doesn't realize how those words will haunt him. The jet door opens again, and cold air rushes in. Two men in tailored suits step aboard with the confidence of money and connections. The pilot straightens like a soldier. "Gentlemen," he says, offering a practiced smile. One of them points toward the woman. "Is that seat taken?" The pilot doesn't even glance at the seat map. "It was, but we're correcting it," he replies, satisfied, like he's fixing a stain. The woman finally stands, not because she's defeated, but because she's done being spoken about like furniture. She reaches for her carry-on, and the flight attendant quietly tries to help, whispering, "I'm so sorry." The woman pauses and looks the attendant in the eyes. "It's not your apology to give," she says, then turns to the pilot. "You're making a mistake." The pilot laughs once, short and cruel. "Mistake? Ma'am, this is a private charter. People pay for preferences." The woman's calm cracks just enough to reveal fire underneath. "And who do you think pays?" "Your salary?" she asks. The pilot's smile fades into annoyance. I don't answer to passengers. The suited men exchange glances, uneasy now, like they didn't sign up for drama. The woman lifts her chin. You're right, she says. You answer to the owner. The pilot rolls his eyes, waving a hand. Owner? Please, the owner isn't here. The woman slips her phone from her pocket, screen already open. Then let's invite her, she says, thumb hovering like a trigger. The cabin goes quiet, the kind of quiet that happens right before. A storm hits glass. Before she can dial, the pilot steps in, voice dropping. Put the phone away. You're delaying departure. The woman meets his stare. I'm not delaying anything. You are. The flight attendant, shaking slightly, murmurs, Captain, we're on a tight slot. But the pilot is too deep in his own ego to climb out. He turns to the other passengers and performs confidence like a show. We'll be airborne as soon as this is resolved. Someone in the back whispers, just move already. And the woman flinches just a flicker because she's been told to shrink her whole life. Then she steadies herself, sets her bag down gently and says, I won't move. The pilot's face hardens, and in that moment, the jet feels less like luxury and more like a cage. The suited men shift uncomfortably, sensing they're standing near something explosive. One of them clears his throat. Captain, maybe we can just take another seat, he offers, trying to be diplomatic. The pilot snaps. No, she needs to learn protocol. Protocol. The word sounds clean, but it's soaked in prejudice. The woman's eyes glisten now, not with weakness, but with memories. Being followed in stores, underestimated in boardrooms, spoken over in meetings, and still outworking everyone. She turns to the passengers, voice carrying but not shouting. I'm not here to fight. I'm here to fly, she says. But I won't be disrespected to make someone else comfortable. The blonde woman scoffs again, but fewer people laugh. This time, the cabin's mood shifts like everyone's realizing this isn't entertainment. It's truth. The pilot motions toward the aisle. Stand aside, he commands the flight attendant, and she obeys, eyes apologizing from a distance. He reaches for the intercom. Ground security to aircraft, he says loud, proud. The woman exhales slowly and finally taps her phone. Not a call, an email, already drafted, addressed to a familiar distribution list. Her thumb hovers, then. She looks straight at him. You're really doing this? She asks, as if giving him one last chance to choose decency over dominance. He nods. You brought it on yourself. The woman presses send. There's no dramatic sound, no thunder, just a quiet click. But the effect is immediate in her posture, like she's placed a chess piece, and now the board belongs to her. She sits back down in the seat he tried to steal from her, calm as a judge. Minutes stretch. The jet doesn't move. The pilot paces near the cockpit door, forcing smiles at the suited men, pretending everything is under control. Then his tablet buzzes. He checks it once, frowns, checks again, and his skin loses color. The flight attendant's phone buzzes too. Her eyes widen as she reads. Then she looks at the woman like she's seeing her for the first time. The pilot snaps. What? The attendant swallows. Captain, operations is requesting a hold, they said. They said the aircraft cannot depart until an ownership verification is completed. The pilot laughs nervously. Ownership verification? That's ridiculous. The woman crosses her legs, unbothered. Not ridiculous, she says quietly. Necessary. Outside the window, a black SUV convoy rolls onto the tarmac with the precision of authority. The cabin collectively inhales, the jet door opens again, and a corporate security director steps in badged, composed, and not impressed. Behind him is a woman in a crisp suit with an airline executive aura, holding a folder like it weighs more than paper. The pilot's voice turns sweet. Is there a problem? The executive doesn't answer him first. She scans the cabin, then locks eyes with the woman in the black blazer. Her expression softens with recognition and respect. "Miss Carter," she says, nodding. The pilot stiffens. "Ms. Who?" The executive turns slightly, addressing the cabin like it's a board. "Meeting. This aircraft is registered under Carter Aeronautics Holdings," she states. The pilot's mouth opens, then closes. The woman, Ms. Carter, doesn't smile. She simply says, "I wanted a quiet flight." The executive's gaze snaps back. To the pilot, suddenly ice. "Instead, you created a spectacle." The pilot stammers, "I didn't know she didn't look," and the words hang in the air like smoke from a fire he started. The executive's eyebrows lift. "Didn't look like what, Captain?" The question slices clean. The suited passengers look down. The blonde woman's smugness evaporates. Miss Carter stands slowly, not towering physically, but commanding the space like gravity. "I don't need to look like anything," she says. "I built my company from a folding table, a laptop, and a promise to myself that I'd never beg for respect." Her voice doesn't crack, but her eyes shine, because it costs something to stay calm in the face of humiliation. She gestures gently toward the seat. "I sat where I was assigned. You decided my presence didn't belong." The pilot whispers, "I was following procedure." Ms. Carter replies, "No, you were following prejudice." The security director steps forward. "Captain, please step off the aircraft for an immediate review." The pilot's pride fights his fear. "This is my cockpit." He protests. Miss Carter turns her head slightly. "No," she says firm. "It's my jet." The words land with finality, and the cabin goes silent again. This time not out of anticipation, but out of shame. The pilot's shoulders sag as reality crushes his ego. He looks around for sympathy, but finds none. Even the suited men avoid his gaze. As he walks toward the door, the flight attendant stays still, hands clasped, breathing like she's been holding her lungs hostage. Miss Carter watches the pilot pass and says, "I didn't come here to ruin you. You did that when you decided I was less." The pilot pauses, swallowing hard, then steps out into the cold air, with the pilot gone. The cabin feels lighter like a pressure valve finally released. The executive offers Miss Carter an apologetic smile. "We can arrange a different crew." Immediately she says. Miss Carter nods once, then glances at the flight attendant. "Are you okay?" she asks, voice softer now. The attendant's eyes fill. "I'm sorry," she whispers. "I tried to speak up." Ms. Carter reaches out and gently touches her arm. "You did," she says. "And that matters." Then Miss Carter turns toward the passengers, not angry, just honest. "I'm not asking for special treatment," she says. "I'm asking for basic dignity. For me, and for every person you've ever decided didn't belong in your space." The blonde woman shifts, uncomfortable. Someone in the back clears their throat and murmurs, "She's right." It's quiet, but it's the start of something. While the crew swap is coordinated outside, Ms. Carter sits again and opens her handbag, pulling out a small, worn notebook. A passenger across the aisle, an older man with kind eyes, leans forward. "Can I say something?" he asks. Miss Carter looks up. He continues, voice trembling with regret. "I laughed earlier. Not because it was funny, because I didn't want to be targeted too. I'm sorry." Miss Carter studies him, then nods slowly. "Thank you for saying it," she replies. "Fear makes people do ugly things." Another passenger speaks up, a young woman in a hoodie who's been silent the whole time. "I've been that person they tell to move," she says. "You didn't back down. That helps." Miss Carter's eyes soften, and for the first time, her expression shows emotion beyond control, something like relief, mixed with exhaustion. "I didn't back down," she says, "because I've been backing down my whole life." The executive returns with an update. New captain is 10 minutes out. "Full apology will be issued," she says, then lowers her voice. "And Ms. Carter, do you want to press charges?" The cabin stiffens at the word charges. Ms. Carter pauses, looking down at her notebook. "I want accountability," she says. "But I also want change." She glances at the executive. "How many complaints have you had about him?" The executive's silence answers before her lips do. Miss Carter's jaw tightens. "That's the problem," she says. "You wait until it happens to someone powerful enough to matter." She looks around the cabin, meeting eyes, some guilty, some inspired. "This isn't just about me," she continues. "It's about every person who didn't have a security director walk onto the plane for them." She closes the notebook. "So here's what we do. We document, we train, we enforce. We stop pretending bias is miscommunication." Outside, the convoy doors close. The pilot stands on the tarmac, smaller now, surrounded by procedures he used like weapons. Inside, Ms. Carter's phone buzzes again, messages pouring in from her team, her legal counsel, her operations staff. She ignores most of them and opens. One from a contact labeled simply, "Mom." The preview reads, "Did you arrive safely?" Ms. Carter's throat tightens. In her mind, she hears her mother's voice from years ago. "You'll have to be twice as good to get half as far." Ms. Carter types back, "Not yet, but I'm okay." She stares at the text, then adds, "I stood up this time." Across the aisle, the older man watches her and quietly wipes his eyes, as if her courage unlocked a door inside him too. The jet's luxury suddenly feels irrelevant. What matters now is what it represents and who gets told they don't deserve it. The new captain arrives middle-aged, calm, professional, stepping aboard with a respectful nod to everyone. But when his eyes meet Miss Carter's, he pauses and offers something rare, sincere humility. "Miss Carter," he says, "I'm Captain Reyes. I've reviewed the incident. I'm sorry for what happened under my company's watch." Ms. Carter studies him, searching for performance, finding none. "Thank you," she replies. Captain Reyes turns to the cabin. "We will not tolerate discrimination of any kind," he says, voice firm, not loud. Then he looks at the flight attendant. "You did the right thing. Speak up again if you ever need to." The attendant exhales like she's been holding a lifetime of fear. The cabin feels different now, like the air has ethics in it. As preparations resume, The blonde woman removes her sunglasses, suddenly unable to hide behind them. She leans toward Miss Carter, hesitant. I'm sorry, she says. I assumed. Miss Carter nods once. I know you did. Engines hum. Seatbelts click. The jet begins to taxi, and the runway lights slide past like a timeline rewinding and rewriting itself. Miss Carter stares out the window, and for a moment she looks younger, like the girl who once watched planes from behind a fence, dreaming of a life that didn't require permission. The young woman in the hoodie speaks again, quieter now. Can I ask you something? Miss Carter turns. How did you become you? Ms. Carter smiles faintly, the first real smile of the flight. I failed a lot, she says. I got told no a lot. And I stopped treating no like a final answer. The hoodie girl nods, eyes shining. Ms. Carter adds, but success doesn't make you immune to pain. It just gives you a microphone. She glances around. So when the moment came, I used it. The plane aligns on the runway, pauses, then surges forward, powerful, undeniable. Asterisk once airborne, the cabin steadies, and silence becomes peaceful instead of tense. Captain Reyes' voice comes over the speaker, smooth and reassuring. Miss Carter relaxes into her seat, but her mind stays alert, replaying every word the pilot said, every laugh that followed. She opens her notebook again and writes a single line: dignity is not a privilege. The flight attendant approaches with a glass of water, hands no longer shaking. Miss Carter, she says softly, I've worked flights for years. I've seen things. I've stayed quiet. Today, I won't anymore. Miss Carter looks up, eyes warm. That's how change starts, she says. Across the aisle, the older man clears his throat. My granddaughter wants to be a pilot. He says, I'm going to tell her about you. Miss Carter's eyes sting. Tell her she belongs, she replies. And if someone says she doesn't make them prove it. Asterisk, as clouds roll beneath the jet like a soft ocean, Miss Carter closes her notebook and finally lets herself feel everything she held back. The humiliation, the rage, the loneliness of being doubted, and the quiet pride of not shrinking. She looks around the cabin strangers who witnessed her worst moment, then watched her reclaim it. I'm not your villain, she says, almost to herself. I'm your mirror. No one interrupts. Even the people who judged her first now sit with the weight of what they learned. Miss Carter turns back to the window and whispers, I own the plane, but I shouldn't have to own it to be treated like I belong on it. The jet glides forward, smooth and steady, toward a destination that suddenly feels symbolic. Not just a city, but a future where respect doesn't require proof of power. And somewhere, in a viewer's living room, Echo Story plays this moment, and someone decides they won't stay silent next time either.